rather?
When there's a swelling.
Okay, when there is swelling, or what we would normally say a muscle pull, when we feel there's a muscle pull or a sprain. Okay, a sprain, hairline fracture idea. What happens is the hairline fracture is the one that is the most tricky. Most of us think it's a sprain, it's a swelling, it will ebb after some time, and then you realize that the thing is not ebbing off at all. The pain is persistent. Then by the time you go to the doctor and then they take an x-ray, they say there was a hairline fracture. At that stage, nothing can be done. They'll tell you put a crepe bandage and continue. And most often a hairline fracture, they tell you let it heal, because the body is such that it does heal with time. Okay. In fact, even a fracture will heal with time, but it will take really ages. If you have seen any kind of movies and all where they have this survival things where they go to the deep forest and there are no doctors and all that, that is what happens. But it will heal at an awkward angle, okay? Anyway, so the sprains basically are, the crepe bandage is used basically for a sprain, muscle pull, or maybe a ligament tear, but then that is very, very painful. Ligament and cartilage tears are extremely painful and it takes a lot of time to heal. Now, in the case of a sprain, they also tell you initially to use what is called the RICE treatment. Any idea what RICE would stand for? R-I-C-E? Rest, ice, compression, elevation. Now, rest is essential definitely in the first 48 hours. Okay, but when they say rest, it doesn't mean that you don't move that part of the body at all, because that is bad. But when they say rest, whenever you can, rest that area when it starts hurting, then again move it. Ice is important in the first 48 to 72 hours. But the amount of ice you apply, one thing, never apply directly on the skin, okay? Because you can end up getting something like this, similar to a frostbite. Okay, never put a block of ice directly, put it into a bag, and that also, if you find it's a big pack of ice, put a cloth and then you put it. That is why if you have seen in movies and all, what they put is normally when they either get a sock in the eye or if they have a sprain or something like that, they put this frozen peas and things like that, because they are not a full block. Okay, when you put peas and things like that, and if you have the frozen vegetables which are kept inside this and you put it onto you, it's not in one big block, it's like distributed. So you find the impact won't be straight on the skin on one place, because it is as it is, they're all tiny inside. If you see, they don't put it directly, they do like that and then they will put it. If you have ever observed it, henceforth you'll start observing these things once it is brought to your knowledge and you realize that. So they say ice, and even when you put it, not more than 20 minutes at a stretch. That's a maximum. Okay, but then it starts affecting your nerve endings. So that's for ice. Compression, that is why we put this. Even if there's inflammation, it does help putting it. Okay, because it brings down the inflammation. That is why you need to put the crepe bandage for compression. But at what the amount, how tight you tie it is what you have to be careful about, so that it is does not get constricted. That's why you say it's for compression, not constriction. Okay, so be careful about that. You have to realize, because this thing stretches and you have a tendency of tying it a little tight, then you find sometimes it really gets tight. So be careful about that, okay? And when you say E, elevation, yes, it is always better, especially when you have inflammation or swelling, to keep it a little higher than the normal part. When you're resting, like let's say if it's your forearm, keep it on a pillow when you're resting. You know, so that they say that the thing will flush out when it is swollen. And also when you put a crepe bandage, make sure that you open it up every 4 to 6 hours, so that there is a circulation, proper circulation. Also, you don't start perspiring within, okay, because that way you end up getting a rash and things like that. So we'll start with today. We have a set of bandages. There are two different set of bandages that I will be doing. One is for the arms and all, and the other one is for the fingers. Come. First one is called the spiral bandage for the forearm. Now this part is your forearm, okay? Now if you see, most of us, we find that this part of it is parallel and then it starts widening up. Now a lot of you all see that they just put bandages round and round and round. What we are going to show you today, if you just turn it round and round, after some time of movement it will come off. Okay, it will start sliding down. Now, like ma'am said, okay, she had told you at the beginning that no, there are certain things that I will be teaching you a technique for doing it, and this is the accepted way according to St. John's Red Cross. If you go, in fact, they are the only body which is recognized all over the world for first aid. Okay, no doubt that some people just tie it around. Even when you go to the hospitals, a lot of people do it that way because they are not really aware until and unless they are trained under the St. John's Red Cross. Okay, so some of us had the good fortune, I think even ma'am has done that course. We had to do that particular for in the institute, okay, at one point in time. So we start with a spiral bandage. Now always make sure that you keep the ball on the outer side so it is easier to maneuver. Okay? Start from the wrist, twice around the wrist you will go in the same area. Then start taking it upward, slightly at a distance from this. Now once you go here and you find that the arm is broadening up, you require to do what is called a reverse bandage. Now the reverse bandage is directly diagonal downwards, okay, on the top. When you bring it behind, open it. Again, overlap it slightly, bring it downwards. Bring it diagonal right from the corner to here. Don't start here, then it hardly ever comes diagonal. Okay, then it goes behind. So start from here with the direction downwards. Now the reason why you're doing it as a reverse is so that it gets a grip. If you go round and round, after some time, like I said, the grip will slacken and then it comes downwards. So go again. Continue in this manner right till just below the elbow, because your forearm ends there. Above the elbow, what is it called? Upper arm. Okay. So it's called the spiral and reverse bandage. Fine. Can you see this? All the diagonals and end up with a simple spiral. Fasten it with your clip. Fine. So it's called a simple and reverse spiral. Coming to the palm. Okay, palm is any injury that you would have right from here onwards, start even including the wrist. Okay, so any kind of injury where you want to immobilize the, not immobilize, sorry, put a crepe bandage, so you can still use it, but it will give you more support for the palm. Start with the wrist again. Ball on the outer side, twice around the wrist. Now, what did we learn when we were fastening the triangular bandages? All your triangular bandages were finally fastened with what was called a reef knot. Okay, that was common to all. Similarly, in the case of a crepe bandage, what is common to all crepe bandages apart from the first one, okay, is that you will always wrap it in a figure of 8. Now, the reason why it's tied in a figure of 8 is because then there's equal pressure on either side of whichever limb you are trying to put it around. So, everything has logic. Okay, so you find that over here, you will start with around the wrist, then go on to the palm. Go right across, and the first wrap that you would give is to actually just to fasten it down. Now make sure that you will anchor it down. Okay, now you make sure that the little finger also the nail can be seen. It is important that the nails can be seen. Can you tell me why? Yeah, if it's too tight and there's some kind of vibration, the nails are the best indicator. Okay, so you will wrap it around like that. That's why after every crepe bandage I'll show you over here, you should make sure that it is not too tight by inserting a little finger. I'll show you that once I complete. Okay, so wrap it around once, then go backwards to the wrist. The figure of 8, bring it back to match the same level, then get it down across, again come backward. Then you recede it and you keep reinforcing the wrist. Okay, bring it down a little bit over here so that it will completely cover your entire length of your palm. The third time again, a little onto this side, downwards, get it to the wrist. As you come down to the wrist where you're anchoring it, that's where you realize that you might have to make it a little more tighter. Over here, keep it a little loose so that the person can still use their palm. But don't make it so tight that, that it might lead to complete constriction. Okay, 3 to 4 times on the palm across and then finish it off at the wrist. Now over here what you need to do is, like I said, put in your little finger over here, make sure that it can go, that it is going right through. Okay, if then you know that there is some kind of space that it is this taut enough. Ask the person once they do just to move their fingers, so that you will also be aware that it is there. At the beginning and maybe even at the wrist. At the wrist also, it may not be very to this loose, but just enough for you to, even this is enough. because the idea of it is to make sure that it is compact. So you can't make it really loose, okay? And that was one of the reasons why we have to open it after every 4 to 6 hours. So make sure that there is enough of circulation, keep it open for some time, and then again wrap it up, okay? Now for the elbow. Now if it is the elbow joint, in that case, remember, where are the cartilage and the muscles? Outer side or inner side? More for flexibility. On the inner side. Okay, outer side it's more bone. What you have everywhere, but you have to reinforce the inner side. Okay, so there when you're doing the figure of 8, it will cross so that you can still move it. If you start wrapping it up in long over here, you will not be able to move it. It will this stop impediment. There will be an impediment for your movement. So that is where you have to watch out for. Okay. So again, start with the elbow joint. When putting the spiral bandage to the elbow, keep the arm slightly flexed when you're doing it itself. If you do it when it is stretched like that, after you do it, you won't be able to move your arm because you have tied it so tight in that particular angle. So always make sure that you are able to move whichever part of the limb you are using it on. Again, ball on the outer side. Ball on the outer side. Cover the elbow joint. Okay, the elbow has to be covered. Wrap it around twice. Fine. Then again you have to start a figure of 8 with the 8 crossing on the inner part of the joint. Now take it one slightly above the elbow joint. Cross it on the inner side. Bring it below the elbow joint. Okay, there is a slight gap that is there over here. And you go on like that, again above, once above and once below. But wherever you are crossing it in a figure of 8, you are reinforcing it. Like we did in the case of the wrist for the palm. Okay, figure of 8, again a little below. And then thrice around, finish off at the upper arm. The upper arm is fatter than the lower arm. So you find that it will, and the forearm rather, upper arm is fatter than the lower, this forearm. So it has to be finished off at that particular part, otherwise it will come down. Okay, so you can see, just move your hand. You're able to move your hand completely, move it completely, up to here. You're able to move, it only gives you support. Okay, so you can see this is called the eye that you have in the center. Please see that there has to be a gap, otherwise if you cover this part, you will not be able to move also. Okay, so make sure that you cover it twice and then start receding upwards and downwards, take it up and down. Okay, fine. For the elbow, start with covering the elbow from the inner side, hold it, cover the elbow completely, twice around the elbow. Okay, then start with a figure of 8, one slightly above, start it from either from up or down, ideally from up, cross it a little just above the elbow joint, cross it within, then take it from the lower part of the elbow joint. Okay, then again take it above. You're giving it a figure of 8 on the inner side, since that is where you require your flexibility, and the lower part. Ascending and receding on this side. Again up and down. And then finish off at the upper arm with a simple spiral. So what you see is the eye, and then 3 this side, 3 this way. So the entire arm on the outer side is got the support, and inside it is in a figure of 8. Okay. What we had for the elbow is the same way that you would put for the knee. Okay, exactly the same way, but like I said, it's a repetition, but just a difference. So for the knee, again start with the knee joint. Now like we had in the case of the elbow, we had a figure of 8 on the inner side of the elbow. So where would the figure of 8 come over here? It will be on the reverse, behind the patella, because that is where your main the muscles and all. Okay, so start with it from the knee. Start with the knee ball on the outer side. Twice around the knee. Then what do we do? Figure of 8. So either go one upwards, again downwards, like we had the eye over there, over here also it's created. Okay, figure of 8 behind, upwards, once downwards, and then where will you finish off? On the top, because the upper part of the thigh is always broader than the lower part. Because the thigh you will manage just about 2 at the most. Fine? So you'll find these are much simpler because we've already done it now. Now the heel, if you notice, is if you have any kind of sprain around your ankle, then you have to do the spiral bandage for the heel. Now the spiral bandage for the heel again follows the same thing like the elbow. Because more or less it is the same kind of joint that you have, okay? So start with the heel again with the ball on the outer side. Cover the heel completely. This will be a little difficult. No, wait. How will you get it? Okay, right around the heel twice. After she finishes, she'll put up her foot. Around the heel twice, and then start with again in a figure of 8, receding upwards and downwards. Where would the figure of 8 come now?
Upwards.
Yeah, because you should be able to move your foot. Okay, so in that case, start a little above the heel joint. Figure of 8. Reinforce the top part on the lower part, just below the heel. So in the bargain, your ankle is getting completely covered. Okay, reinforcement is on the ankle. Again, a little below, a little above. So after you finish 3 times, where would you wind up? On the top. Because below, what will happen is when you're moving, it will come off. I finish it at the top part of the leg. Wait, not that way. How will you shoot? Okay, so you can see over here also we have the eye going upwards 3 times, lower part 3 times, and then on top 3 times, right? Wrap it around twice, the spiral bandage of the heel, twice around, then start with it going a little upwards. No, for the heel you will start from downwards, okay? Figure of 8, start from down, cross it, go upwards, and leave the heel exposed, the heel open after that so that the eye creates the eye, and again go upwards, cross it at the ankle in the front, again the 3rd time, around. Once you finish with 3 times the figure of 8, finish it off at the top part. So even in this you get the eye, 3 receding here and 3 receding on this side. And finish it off at the top. Okay, now it is a spiral bandage for the underfoot. Now suppose if you get a sprain here on the front part, okay, in that case how do you do the spiral bandage? Because suppose if you're walking and if again it's basically the ankle that normally the ankle gets injured, but sometimes for girls this part also gets really badly injured when you're wearing heels. Okay, then in that case how do you manage? It is exactly like what we have for the palm. Keep the ball on the outer side. Like for the palm we started with the wrist. So for that here you will start with the top part of the foot, which is on your leg, okay, the lower part of your leg, and then come forward. What did we do at that time? First one is to anchor it, okay, again anchor it below, much below the toenails, because that is not what you want. You want this part of your foot to be get the support, okay, and then cross it, get it backward in a figure of 8. The figure of 8 will come above, and now go on to the other side, exactly like what we did for the palm. Backwards, reinforce it here on the top part, get it down, third around, okay, and then you can finish it off at the top. So it's exactly like the palm, like I said. And in this case, if you can see, the heel is completely exposed. Okay, reinforcement over here on this part and on your entire foot 3 times. That's called the spiker. That's a spiral bandage for the thumb. Okay, in case if it is this joint which is injured, this joint either here or here, but it is mainly for this one. Okay, because the one in the front, usually you can roll it up like a spiral, but again you will have to do a figure of 8. This one is the only one which has got a term which is called a spiker. Okay, in case if it is this part that is injured. Now, when you start, you also get crepe bandages which are smaller of this width, but since we don't have it, I'm using this. We have one which is a little broader than that, but that becomes a little difficult to use. Okay, so we've taken a cloth. Now, when you start with a spiker, just remember, whichever hand you are doing, you have to start from the opposite end because you have to get it in a figure of 8. Just remember that, it's only logic. Say for example, if it is this hand, I will start it this side. Okay, because then I will get it across and then I'll get the figure of 8. Now, since I'm doing this hand, I will start it from this side. Okay, so start with the side opposite the thumb, twice around the wrist. Okay, once you get it twice around the wrist, then get it right across, bring it to the middle joint of the thumb, which also incidentally is below the fingernail. Roll it once across to anchor it. Now bring it back to cross for a figure of 8. Now if you're saying 8 means it has to go on the opposite side. Do not bring it back on the same side. Now when you're bringing it back here, don't pull it too much because then your finger will go backwards. That is one of the reasons why you go from out inwards, because the out one will give it support. If you do from inward out, it will go backwards again and it will only cause more injury. So when you bring it back, bring it backwards, okay? This is the one which will set the tension and the amount of pressure. Bring it back straight, make an L over here to make a diagonal backwards, okay? Take it backwards over here and then roll it around the wrist so that it gets anchored. Once you get it anchored over here, then you can go in a figure of 8 across, downward. Now there is no need of doing the L. Okay, bring it backwards towards the front, from the outer side to the inner side. Again I'm getting it receding slowly, again around the wrist, again from out inwards, and then finish it off at the wrist. So as you can see over here, even with this, the whole thing goes around the entire joint for this, so that this part, this move your thumb. So you find that this part is what gets reinforced. So you can still use your thumb, but this part gets completely reinforced. Okay, so figure of 8, out inwards. Yeah. Put them together. Okay, even when it is fractured and all, you will find that they do it each one individually, because if you do, even if it's one finger and you join it to the good finger, what happens is that finger also tends to bend. But in the healing process, it's like a parasite. It will take whatever is the stronger one and take the support. So never do that. It has to be done as an individual one. So even if you're injured on 2 fingers, even if they are adjacent to each other, do not do it together. Okay, each one individually. So over here also we start. Okay, like in the case of the thumb, start with it on the opposite side. If they're in the middle 2 fingers, that is your middle finger and the ring finger, then it doesn't matter. I'll tell you how it goes. Because she has given me the index finger, I will have to start from the opposite side. Like we started in the case of the thumb, same way, because you got to get your figure of 8 with both sides equal pressure. Twice around the wrist, then start with it, which is the extreme one. Okay, whichever one is the extreme one, in this case it is the index finger, will start. Had it been these 2, it doesn't matter. Then you would have started with the middle finger and then started with the ring finger, the next one. But in this case, since it is the index finger, we'll start with the index. Then make a simple spiral throughout the finger. Simple spiral, okay? Then get it backwards. Now when you're getting it backwards, like we did in the case of the thumb for the spiker, you will do an L over here so that it does not get pulled too much backwards. Do a L where it is taken diagonally backwards and anchor it once. Okay, when you take that one, this diagonally, anchor it once tight. Now you can see this is what is a figure of 8, where you have crossed it, so there's equal pressure on both sides. Then go backwards again, then go to the next finger. Again a simple spiral. You might have seen this in movies where you have boxer pictures. In fact, all boxers do this for each. They wrap up their hands also with crepe bandages. Okay. Again in an L, which will go on the opposite side, not on the same side. Otherwise the pressure will all be on this side of the palm. So cross it, go on to the other side of the wrist, and then you will anchor it. Finish it off at the wrist. As you can see, over here there's nothing. So you can still use your palm, no problem. There is no nothing that will stop it, and you can use it. So nothing on the palm, the only crossing is on the top. So when you do it, see, it should be enough so that you can move it. If it's too tight, it will get pulled. So that is the reason why we have to see, just make it straight, put an L and then turn it off, right?